Alright, today I will be refuting the speech of Brandon Morales, whose main claim was that increasing federal funds for stem cell research would benefit our nation. His three supporting claims are: 1, speed up and advancement of any medical breakthrough we may make; 2, stem cell research will lead to the cure of detrimental diseases; and 3, it will change the lives of some that are currently disabled due to a disease. My attack on the preliminary claim information is his main claim is a policy. He says it would, which makes it a policy claim. If it were a claim of fact, he would have to take out the word would and add s to benefit. And even if it were a claim of fact as well, the problem does not lie within federal funding. In his presentation, it was stated that 2% of federal funding is given to research, and he says that is not enough. Well, I crunched some numbers, and 2% of our total federal funding, which is $2.65 billion, is $53 million for stem cell research. That is quite a lot. Which is why I'm going to prove that the problem does not lie in increasing federal funding, but lies in what the individual state does with the money. There are already enough funds given out for stem cell research, as I pointed out. According to an article in the Washington Post by Rob Stein, President Obama's decision to lift restrictions on federal funding of human embryonic stem cell research is expected to provide a major boost to one of the most promising but controversial fields of biomedical research in generations. This lift on stem cell research ban gives endless possibilities in research and money areas, but in the overall aspect of stem cell research. My counterclaim is that the way individual state uses its money and laws in stem cell research improves our nation. In refutation to his first secondary claim, his secondary claim number 1 is phrased as a policy, when he says that speed up and advancement of medical breakthrough we may make. Even if it were phrased as a claim of fact, there were no medical breakthroughs described, nor were there any statistics of evidence given. My response is that there is enough funding given by the states to allow for medical breakthroughs. In an article written in the Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology News by Sigrid Frey-Revere on March 17, 2007, he found that in 2004, New Jersey passed a bill that would give stem cell research $5.5 million, and California passed Prop 71 that would allow a bond of $3 billion over 10 years. In 2005, Connecticut passed Senate Bill 934, which created a federal fund of $100 million over 10 years. Illinois Governor Blagojevich approved an executive order of $10 million, and in 2006, Maryland authorized $15 million for stem cell research, along with $50 million in private grants. All this can be found on the NCL website, which stands for National Conference of State. I can't say it, so I'll spell it for you because of my speech impediment. Legislature. These are just 5 of the 12 states that allow stem cell research. The funding for stem cell research, especially in the medical field, does not have to do with federal funding, but state-to-state funding. According to Christine Vestal, a journalist for Stateline.org, which is a website for state policy and politics, prior to the date of January 31st, 2008, $230 million have been given to various states for stem cell research. Christine also says that over the next 10 years, there will be $5 billion spent on science of stem cell research, and Massachusetts may add another $1 billion. These numbers add up from the 5 states equal $1,180,500,000, and that's for 5 states. The problem with his secondary claim, number 2, is that although it is stated as a claim of fact, there is no evidence or statistics that supports the advocate's claim. My response to that is that the new stem cell research restriction lift gives the individual state the ability to cure disease. 12 states allow stem cell research right now. Henry K. Kaiser Foundation, which drew these facts from the NCSL and state embryonic and fetal research laws, on January 26, 2008, gives the following states as allowing stem cell research: California, Connecticut, Illinois, Indiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Virginia, Washington, and Wisconsin. Before the lift on stem cell research, the limits of research range from promotion of stem cell studies in Massachusetts all the way to research on cells of any type in New York. Most of the states allow only adult embryonic research. Because of President Obama's recent lift of stem cell research ban, there is no restriction on what scientists can do in this field. Rob Stein, once again, of the Washington Post, reports that the signing of an executive order voiding the restrictions will allow thousands of scientists to study hundreds of lines of cells that have been developed since the limitations were put in place 8 years ago. It will also allow them to dismantle cumbersome bureaucracies constructed to work around the constraints and let them exchange scientific ideas more easily. Christine Vestel says that scientists say these so-called pluripotent stem cells hold the key to discovering the causes and cures for conditions such as juvenile diabetes, blindness, spinal paralysis, Lou Gehrig's, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's disease. Although, according to the Biotechnology Online Dictionary, supported by the Merriam-Webster Medical Dictionary, pluripotent stem cells are cells that have the capacity to become any kind of cell or tissue in the body. Not only have the early abilities of these states and the scientists allowed for research because funding was enough, but the lift of stem cell research, the possibilities are endless. The problem with claim number 3 is that secondary claim number 3 is cleverly restating claim number 2. Because the advocate failed to properly define the terms detrimental and disabled, it was safe for me to assume that detrimental diseases apply to those who are disabled and vice versa, thus causing secondary claim number 3 to be invalid. My response to that is, there is no response for secondary claim number 3 because it was simply cleverly restating claim number 2. I hope you all can see the problem does not lie within a so-called lack of federal funding, but more or less in the hands of the individual states to use the matter properly and do scientific research. Thank you.
All right, you labeled the claims very clearly, including the secondary claims. You signposted pretty well on the first point. When you got to the second point, you also did that. You got to the third point, basically you're combining it with the second point and applying your same arguments there, and you explained that clearly there at the end. You had a challenge on it being a policy argument. The word should would make it a policy argument. The word would actually makes it a claim of future fact, so it would be a prediction about what would happen. So you got to be careful about that. But I'm not sure it changes the nature of your argument, but you suggest that it does, and I think that's just confusing. The argument that there are alternative forms of funding available, that there's a lot of money available, I think that's all pretty sound. You, in essence, the notion that we have substantial amounts of money available, that we are making progress, that should be sufficient. Where's the other, you do kind of make a challenge, a general challenge on this, but, that more money would make a difference. But when you make that challenge, you also, in another part, say, this research is going to produce all these huge benefits, and you would do a better job of documenting what some of those benefits are than the advocate did. So I think that that's a little problematic. I don't know that you want to take both positions. I think it's more reasonable to say, look, there's a huge amount of money available, but there's no guarantee that money is going to make a difference. That's probably the more consistent policy. All right.